Money was never the goal. It was always the leash. The true game was never about owning gold, but owning those who chase it. Every empire, every dynasty, every silent tyrant that walked this earth understood the same truth. Wealth is not counted in coins. It is measured in control. That is where the first law begins, the law of leverage. Money is not what you possess. It is who you possess. The loud man believes in ownership. The quiet one believes in control. The wise ruler lends gold not to earn interest, but to earn influence. Every favor, every loan, every generous investment is a chain disguised as kindness. The debtor is never free. He sleeps with a weight on his soul. Machiavelli warned that men forget the death of their father sooner than the loss of their patrimony. And so the strategist gives, not out of generosity, but design. A silent investor, a helping hand, a timely loan, all of them invisible ropes tightening with time. Learn this. The rich man who lends does not lose, he binds. He turns gratitude into obedience, and dependency into quiet servitude. You must never simply own money. You must weaponize it. Place your gold into others' hands, and watch how their loyalty grows roots into your power. Because wealth locked away is static, but wealth that circulates under your control breeds dominion. Every dollar becomes a soldier, every transaction a negotiation of hierarchy. You are not buying goods, you are buying souls. Which brings us to the second law, the law of scarcity. Power does not come from abundance. It is born from control of what others crave. The one who controls supply controls behavior. The illusion of shortage builds obedience faster than any threat. The ruler who limits bread controls the crowd's faith. The brand that withholds a product creates obsession. Even silence can be used as scarcity. Attention becomes gold when you withdraw it. In markets and in minds, perception of lack is the architecture of demand. The predator knows this and starves his audience just enough to make them desperate for a taste. He releases value in doses like a god granting sunlight to a starving world. When you give too much, you cheapen your worth. When you give just enough, you become irreplaceable. This is how empires sell illusions and command devotion. Limit your presence, your access, your approval. Each must feel like a privilege, not a guarantee. Remember, Machiavelli taught that men desire more what is denied them than what is offered freely. Control what is withheld, and you command what is desired. Scarcity isn't about resources, it's about perception. He who shapes perception shapes power. Then comes the law of hidden ownership. Flaunted wealth invites envy. Hidden wealth ensures survival. Those who rise and remain unseen are the true kings of this world. Visibility is vulnerability. Envy is the silent assassin of fortune. Every time a fool shows his treasure, he sharpens the blade that will one day be used against him. Power does not announce itself. It whispers, it hides, it multiplies in silence. The predators of history, the Medici, the Rothschilds, the nameless oligarchs of every age, they mastered invisibility. They owned banks through intermediaries, influenced kings through whispers, controlled wars through credit while never being seen holding a sword. The crowd worships visibility. The wise disappear behind shadows. When your name vanishes from the game, yet your influence directs every move, you have transcended mere wealth. You have become a phantom of control. Conceal your gains, obscure your empire, and let the world believe you are ordinary. Because the unseen man is the untouchable one. They cannot destroy what they cannot find. They cannot attack what they cannot define. But even hidden power must sometimes speak. And when it does, it speaks through generosity. Thus, the law of controlled generosity. Every act of giving must serve a purpose. Every kindness conceals a hook. The fool gives to be liked. The strategist gives to be obeyed. Your charity must be a chess move, not a confession. Offer help only when it builds debt. Give gifts that remind others they owe you. Give publicly when you must appear righteous, but privately when you wish to own gratitude. In both cases, your hand must never appear empty. Machiavelli said, "Men are more ready to repay injury than kindness, such is the baseness of human nature." And yet, when kindness is strategic, even baseness becomes useful. The general buys soldiers with gold, but loyalty is purchased through the illusion of benevolence. Let your generosity become a currency of manipulation. Sponsor ambition in others, so they grow roots that lead back to you. Feed a man's ego, and he will defend your throne, believing it his own idea. The best gift is not money. It is dependence disguised as opportunity. Then we arrive at the law of ruthless boundaries. Never feed the ungrateful. Never bankroll weakness. Mercy without purpose is waste. Compassion without calculation is suicide. Protect your resources as you would your bloodline. The parasite always wears the mask of the desperate. They will ask for your help, your time, your investment. And if you yield without strategy, they will consume you. The wise man does not give endlessly. He measures worth through return. If generosity does not breed leverage, it must end. Machiavelli warned that he who is the cause of another becoming powerful is ruined. You must guard your energy, as kings guard their thrones. Not every friend deserves favor. Not every ally deserves trust. The stronger you become, the more you will attract the weak who wish to feed off your strength. Reject them calmly. Let guilt die quietly in the shadow of your empire. Because in the end, ruthlessness is not cruelty, it is preservation. A strategist without boundaries is a servant in disguise, which flows into the sixth law, the law of silent pressure, the loud demand, the powerful wait. Power does not shout, it watches. It studies, it suffocates through stillness. Silence is not absence, silence is dominance. Words reveal too much. Stillness reveals nothing. The one who can hold silence holds control. Because the weak man fears the unknown. The strong man makes the unknown his weapon. Learn to pause before you speak, to observe before you act, to withhold before you reveal. The greatest negotiators, the most dangerous leaders, understand this deeply. They let others fill the silence with fear, justification, and confession. In their stillness lies unbearable tension, and that tension bends others into compliance. The world mistakes reaction for power, but power is restraint. Machiavelli would say, "He who conquers himself is mightier than he who conquers a city." Your silence must be deliberate, your calm engineered. Every moment you resist the urge to react, you grow more formidable. The crowd moves by impulse, the predator by intention. When you master silence, you no longer chase influence, you draw it in. But silence alone is not enough. To make silence lethal, it must be married with the next law, the law of the predator's patience. Most men crave immediacy. They gamble, they rush, they burn. The predator waits, he stalks. He studies patterns until certainty reveals itself. Time is not his enemy, it is his instrument. When others chase trends, he observes. When others panic, he plans. Patience is not laziness, it is the highest form of strategy. Think of the emperor who watches rivals consume themselves in haste. Think of the investor who accumulates quietly while others scream in greed or despair. The world belongs not to those who move fast, but to those who move last. The patient man is invincible because he allows others to destroy themselves. He watches the noise of the market, the chaos of emotion, and sees only opportunity. To master patience is to master time, and to master time is to master fate. For the man who can wait will always devour those who cannot. Now patience gives birth to invisibility, and invisibility leads to control. This brings us to the law of invisible strings, the art of manipulation without exposure. The loud man loses because he reveals his will. The true strategist influences without appearing to act. He moves through others like a ghost in daylight. He installs his will in the minds of men until they move as if it were their idea. A favor here, a suggestion there, a silent investment, all invisible threads binding people to your design. The puppet need not see the strings to dance. The power lies not in the force you apply, but in the dependency you create. The clever ruler makes others act in his interest, believing they act in their own. That is the purest domination. Power without confrontation. Control without visibility. Yet to sustain this you must master your appearance, which leads to the law of plausible poverty, the art of appearing ordinary while holding extraordinary control. In every age, the men who flaunted wealth invited ruin. Kings who displayed gold met rebellion. Merchants who paraded riches met theft. The predators that lived longest dimmed their light. They walked as ghosts among the living, unremarkable, forgettable, yet untouchable. They concealed ambition behind humility, cunning behind silence. Flaunting breeds hatred. Humility breeds invisibility. The man who hides his power never needs to defend it. Let fools chase attention. You chase influence. Let them show their trophies. You buy the arena. When you master this illusion, the world lowers its guard around you. You become underestimated, safe, unchallenged, free to operate beneath suspicion. Machiavelli warned that hatred is more dangerous than fear, and the flaunted rich man becomes the target of both. Be the invisible hand, not the gilded throne. From here emerges the final transformation, the law of sacrificial gold, the willingness to lose strategically, to gain permanently. Money hoarded is stagnation. Money sacrificed is rebirth. Sometimes the empire demands an offering. The predator does not flinch when burning gold to feed the fire of power. A ruler spends to buy loyalty. A general bribes peace. A strategist donates for public favor. Money must circulate with intent. Every coin you release must return as influence, silence, or control. To lose money purposefully is not weakness, it is foresight. The fool clings to gold until it rusts. The strategist throws it into the flames and watches how smoke reshapes the heavens. Machiavelli wrote that those who spend wisely strengthen their rule, while misers lose both wealth and power. Let your gold be your soldier. Spend with precision. Lose deliberately. Every sacrifice must echo with purpose. And then, when you have learned to spend, to wait, to disappear, you begin to see the illusion for what it is. The theater behind the curtain, the marketplace of belief, the stage where the crowd trades emotion for illusion. This is where the next law begins. Withhold your reaction. Make others sweat. Silence is not absence. It is dominance. And when wielded with precision, it becomes a scalpel that cuts deeper than any word ever could. But silence alone is not the weapon. It is the sheath. What makes it deadly is what hides beneath. The seventh law, the predator's patience. The average man wants everything fast. Fast money, fast fame, fast validation. He burns his soul for speed, chasing gratification like a starving animal chasing its reflection in water. He jumps at trends, gambles with emotions, mistakes motion for progress, and in his frenzy, he destroys himself. But the predator knows that time is a weapon sharper than any sword. Waiting is not weakness, it is the art of stalking. The strategist lets others charge into the battlefield first, revealing their strategies, exhausting their strength, and showing their cards while he studies from the shadows. Patience is not passivity, it is precision delayed. Think of the emperor who stores grain while others feast in prosperity, only to rule over them in famine. Think of the investor who smiles through panic, buying when others scream. Think of the quiet man in a meeting who says nothing until his words silence everyone else. Time amplifies power for those who are not slaves to it. When you can wait while others crumble under urgency, you become untouchable. Because in the end, most men destroy themselves long before you need to lift a finger. And once you have mastered waiting, something profound begins to shift. Your emotions detach from money. You stop celebrating highs. You stop fearing lows. You no longer respond to the market's panic or temptation. You stop needing to be seen as rich, and in that moment, you become richer than anyone can imagine. This leads us into the eighth law, the law of invisible strings. Power that can be seen is already weak. The loud man has lost before the war begins. True power moves silently, behind curtains, through invisible hands. The strategist never commands, he orchestrates. He pulls strings others cannot see. He whispers ideas that others believe are their own. His influence lives in documents, in alliances, in favors owed and forgotten. A clause in a contract, a loan in the right hands, a silent partnership, all invisible mechanisms of control. The man with invisible strings doesn't need to threaten. His subjects move in fear of disappointing him. Not out of terror, but dependency. His power is not in display, but in necessity. He doesn't trend, yet he shapes what trends. He doesn't speak, yet his silence rewrites outcomes. This is not mere power. It is omnipresence wrapped in absence. The world believes it moves freely, yet every motion serves his design. And once you understand this, you let go of the need for appearance. You no longer announce victories. You no longer seek applause. You no longer measure success by recognition. You move like a ghost, but strike like a god. You become the man who alters outcomes without ever being seen touching them. Visibility is vulnerability, and invisibility is invincibility. Then comes the ninth law, the law of plausible poverty, the art of appearing ordinary while holding extraordinary command. Flaunting attracts envy. Envy breeds plots, and plots destroy empires faster than armies. History is clear. Kings who displayed gold were assassinated, merchants who boasted were robbed, and rulers who flaunted power were publicly humiliated. The predators that survived the longest learned to dim their light. They dressed like the crowd, but thought like gods. They let others underestimate them because no one attacks what does not appear threatening. Machiavelli warned that hatred is more dangerous than fear, and flaunting creates hatred faster than power ever could. The clever ruler hides his riches behind modesty, his ambition behind stillness, his cunning behind humility. He walks among men as if equal, yet his mind operates centuries ahead. You must learn to be unseen even when visible, to wear normality as armor. Let others fight for recognition. Let them chase trophies while you buy the arena. Let them crave applause while you purchase the audience. Plausible poverty is not pretending to be weak. It is disguising your dominance so deeply that no one feels the urge to resist you. It makes your victories invisible, your reach untraceable, your safety eternal, because no enemy can strike a target they do not see. But when hidden power must act, the mask falls. This is when you invoke the 10th law, the law of sacrificial gold. The willingness to lose money strategically to gain power permanently. The fool clings to his wealth until it rusts in his grasp. The strategist burns it to keep the empire alive. He knows money is not treasure. It is fuel, and fuel is meant to be consumed for movement. The ruler pays soldiers not for loyalty, but to buy fear's silence. The businessman bleeds profit to bankrupt competitors. The manipulator donates publicly to earn moral immunity privately. Sacrifice becomes theater. Loss becomes leverage. The predator knows every coin burned must resurrect as influence. Money dies, but power is reborn. Even losing can be a form of dominance when the loss is chosen. Every strategic sacrifice sharpens authority. Every calculated loss deepens control. Machiavelli wrote that rulers who guard their wealth too tightly lose their states, while those who spend wisely strengthen their rule. The same truth governs modern warfare. Money that dies without purpose is weakness. But money that dies by design becomes resurrection. Spend not to impress, but to manipulate. Give not to feel good, but to create dependency. Lose money only to purchase loyalty, silence, or time. Because when you spend with intent, you are not losing. You are rearranging the chessboard. And when you step back far enough, you begin to see the grand illusion, the dark theater of money. The 11th law, the stage upon which the entire world performs. Markets, currencies, valuations, they are all acts of belief. Money is a myth sustained by faith. It is theater, numbers performing as gods, belief masquerading as value. The modern empire runs not on gold, but on trust. Trust in banks, trust in paper, trust in screens filled with digits that could vanish tomorrow. Governments manipulate. Central banks perform. Media narrates the story to keep the audience believing, because if belief breaks, the play ends. The applause of the masses keeps the illusion alive. The strategist does not reject the theater. He directs it. He knows panic and euphoria are part of the same play. When the crowd cheers, he sells. When the crowd screams, he buys. He becomes both actor and director, crafting scenes of victory while watching from the shadows. Appear confident when others doubt. Appear doubtful when others are euphoric. The wise man bends to rhythm, not emotion. The fool reacts. The strategist conducts. He knows the applause means nothing. What matters is who owns the stage, who writes the script, who collects the tickets. And this theater extends into every domain: workplaces, friendships, relationships, negotiations, all miniature performances of power and perception. When you stop reacting emotionally to money, you step out of the play and start directing it. At work, do not beg for raises. Make your absence felt. Value is created not by noise but by scarcity. Make them need you. In negotiations, speak last. Silence forces revelation. The first man to justify himself always loses. In relationships, watch how others handle giving and receiving. Those too generous too soon are dangerous. Those too stingy too long are opportunists. The silent ones are strategists. Observe them. The more you see this pattern, the more you detach from reaction. You begin ascending through stages, from worker to observer, observer to manipulator, manipulator to phantom. The phantom no longer competes for trophies. He owns the scoreboard. He does not perform dominance, he engineers it. And to live as this phantom, these laws must not remain words. They must fuse into instinct. They are not advice. They are weapons. Repeat them until your hesitation becomes calculation, until your emotion becomes silence, until your greed becomes patience. The law of leverage. Money is not what you own. It's who you own. The law of scarcity. Control the illusion of shortage, and you command hunger. The law of hidden ownership. Flaunted. Wealth invites envy. Hidden wealth ensures survival. The law of controlled generosity. Every kindness hides a hook. The law of ruthless boundaries. Never feed the ungrateful. Never fund the weak. The law of silent pressure. The loud demand. The powerful wait. The law of the predator's patience. Impulse destroys fortunes. Patience builds empires. The law of invisible strings. Control through dependency. Speak through others' actions. The law of plausible poverty. Disappear behind modesty. Let fools expose themselves. The law of sacrificial gold. Lose strategically to gain permanently. The law of the dark theater. Money is illusion. Master the script or become someone else's actor. Once these principles engrave themselves into your mind, you stop being ruled by wealth. You begin ruling through it. You no longer see money as numbers, but as behavior. You see how fear drives decisions, how greed bends loyalty, how illusion governs every transaction. And as your awareness expands, the world begins to look different. You see puppets everywhere. Governments dancing to invisible debts. Corporations selling illusions to hungry crowds. Individuals chained to fear of loss. And in that revelation lies freedom. Because the moment you understand that money controls the emotional, not the rational, you are free. Most men will live and die as servants of numbers, slaves to their emotions, worshippers of paper gods. But not you. You have seen behind the curtain. You have read the forbidden language of control. You have joined the unseen brotherhood of predators who build quietly, rule invisibly, and endure eternally. You have become the strategist who does not chase wealth, but manipulates its flow. The one who is unseen, untouched, undefeated by chaos. You are not the loud man screaming on stage. You are the quiet director behind the curtain, omnipresent, calculating, absolute. The phantom of wealth walks differently. He gives with intention, denies with grace, observes without emotion, waits without fatigue. His silence terrifies because it conceals certainty. His humility disarms because it hides power. The world mistakes his stillness for peace, but it is dominance disguised as calm. He controls those who think they are free. He frees himself by controlling nothing too tightly. You are now entering that archetype, the silent strategist, the Machiavellian phantom of finance, the one who does not need validation because his precision is his power. You no longer panic when you lose. You no longer celebrate when you win. You exist beyond greed, beyond fear, beyond the applause of fools. You play the long game, untouched by storms, unseen by competitors, undefeated by time. Because now you understand the final truth, the greatest law of all: money itself is powerless until it touches the hands of one who commands it. Most will remain servants of illusion, but you walk in silence, with eyes wide open, in a world that bows to those who understand that money is not currency. It is control.